Okay, hi guys, it's me again. Yeah, today I'll be trying to type characters from Downton Abbey. I was rewatching the show lately and I was just thinking, well, I like the show, I like MBTI, why not join them together and see what becomes of it. Since there's a lot of characters, I just typed the main ones and like the ones that are present through most of the seasons. But yeah, here's the results. I actually made quite a few notes. Yeah, so I'll be looking at them a lot, so if I'm looking down, just ignore that. That's because I have my notes here. Yeah, I guess I'll just get started. And I'll start with the upstairs. So, Lord Grantham. I typed him as an ISFJ. I think his SI is pretty obvious. He's just very tradition-bound, skeptical about novelty. He thinks that things are better the way they are, so why change them? You know, anything that's a little bit new is a potential threat. So yeah, he's just really reluctant about anything that challenges the established way of how things are. He wants to maintain what he thinks is good, so why change something if it's working? Sort of the dominant SI and inferior NE dynamic. Like all the changes in politics, about how to run the estates, all these modern ways are a little bit scary to him. He's not completely opposed to it, but he's struggling to accept that because of the dominant SI. And why I think he is FE rather than TE, I think he's just a little bit more concerned about maintaining group harmony. Maybe I should put that like this, group harmony, about how others will be affected by decisions, how to make decisions that are gonna be the best for everyone. There's nothing really like TE, nothing that would indicate strong TE about him. He's not about, you know, being forceful, about taking control, about organizing things. Yeah, he likes his control, but that's not really a comfortable mode of operation for him, I think. It's more about relationship over structure. Losing control can also be kind of SI related because this is how things have been, and you know, you're now proposing a different way of doing things, so this kind of messes with his dominant function. I think he finds it hard to let go or to accept new ways. Also, I think in dealing with Sybil, he just gives her all these FE reasons why she shouldn't abandon her, you know, established way of life. You'll be rejected by the society if you marry the chauffeur. Your life is gonna change completely. And he tries to use this TI logic to support all his claims, but you know, it's a weaker TI, so it's not really that logical, especially for someone like Sybil who is an FI user, but I'll talk about that later. And now moving on to Lady Grantham. Yeah, I think she's an ESFJ. She's similar to her husband in a lot of ways, but I think she leads with FE, and I mean, I think it's pretty clear that she's kind of this stereotypical, a very caring, motherly, nurturing type, always about group harmony, about how others are feeling, how to, she's kind of a peacemaker. It's about others' well-being and their feeling. And I think, yeah, she's SINE over NISC because she's not really a novelty seeker. She's happy, you know, with the way things are. She doesn't, she likes feeling useful, dutiful. She's more focused on the present rather than future applications of whatever and with the future occurrences. And I think the inferior TI shows in her being reluctant to maybe establish a clear judgment on her own or to like come to a conclusion. Maybe, you know, when it comes to firing Baxter, she just takes a long time to process all this. Okay, so now on to the Dowager, Countess Violet. I think she is a pretty stereotypical ESTJ. You can see that strong TESI in her, that she's just about rules and she's opinionated about principles, order, you know, a little bit bossy, controlling and meddling. She means well, sure, but yeah, just this kind of a forceful TE way of controlling the environment in some way. SI in her also being reluctant to changes, being happy with the way things are, and novelty is a huge threat for her. She just doesn't feel comfortable with anything that's new and that's challenging the established way of life, of running things. And feelings are never really that relevant for her, but when they do come up, like for example when her former love comes around, she just, yeah, it just creates this tension between T and FI. Okay, now Mrs. Crawley, I think she's also a pretty clear example of an ENFJ. That FE Dom is very obvious. She's just all about helping others, being supportive, helping them achieve their goal, taking care of people. Yeah, that TI inferior, I would say, shows in how she thinks that sometimes when a thing is valuable for everyone or for the majority, for the collective, that it's also correct. So for example, when she's making plans for Downton, she just fails to realize that this is actually a home to a family, even though it would be nice if it were open to public. So she's thinking about the greater good, but sort of forgetting about personal, individual needs. And yeah, I think she's NISC because she can be pretty forceful with her ideas, which I think could be maybe a little bit related to SE. But mainly, it's like she's thinking ahead, she's thinking about the future. She's more future-oriented than the present. Again, you know, with plans for Downton. Okay, so Matthew, I believe, is an INFP. I've seen him typed as different things, but I'm fairly sure that FI Dom suits him. Matthew, the way I see him, he's very concerned with authenticity and morality. For example, when Mary doesn't accept his proposal straight away, and then Cora gets pregnant and the baby might be a boy, so he would be the heir and not Matthew. And then Matthew is just really concerned with, oh, does Mary really love me, or was she just going to accept my proposal because she wants, you know, because of the status, or, you know, his future status. And also when it comes to situation with Lavinia and her father's letter, giving Matthew money, he's reluctant to accept it because it may be under false pretenses that don't fit into his FI value system. You know, he was being dishonest and didn't really love Lavinia, he doesn't deserve the money. So yeah, I think this is also a reflection of inferior TE, where he's just trying to hold on to his FI values so much that he's forgetting about practicality, TE practicality. So this money is something the family needs right now and it's useful. And why I think he uses any is because he has a lot of, he's also future oriented, he has a vision for Downton, more progressive, he has plans for the future, he's open to new possibilities. Okay, now moving on to Mary. I think she's an ENTJ. I think she uses TFI, so she's T dominant user, similar to her grandma in a lot of ways, being quite pragmatic and likes to be in charge of situations, in charge of herself. She can be a little bit cold and, yeah, bossy, a bit abrasive, and she's not very considerate about other people's feelings at all. I think the inferior FI could show in attributing a lot of value to this one FI important thing, and then trying to support it with TE reasons, and presenting it as objective, but it's really just important to you. If I use that example again, when Matthew won't take the money, her FI feels a little bit betrayed. She feels like he doesn't love her enough, or her family, or Downton, that he would want to save them. The reason is, you should take the money, you should be practical about things, this makes sense. And I think she's NISE because even though she was brought up to value stability and tradition and all that, she is much more open to changes. She's more open to sort of the bigger picture. She wants to bring Downton into the future, and she's interested in modernizing the way things are going, to sort of keep up with the changes in society. SC could show, I'm gonna be very stereotypical here, but yeah, she has SC interests, activities, but I think what could really showcase that SC, that if she doesn't think things through the NI way, and she's a bit too rushed and jumps into things too quickly, and also maybe like valuing superficial standards to a degree. And now moving on to Sybil. I think Sybil is an INFP, like Matthew. I've seen her typed as ENFP, but I think she leads with FI. I think it's not so much about ideas and like being a visionary. She does have progressive ideas and all that. I do think she uses NE, but I think with her it's all about authenticity, being true to herself, to her own values, how she wants to live her life. And I think FI and TE sort of clash when it comes to a conflict of values and external sort of structure of the world. So, for example, when she runs away, she tries to sort of exert her independence, but doesn't really think through the TE logic. Also, you know, she's very compassionate and giving as well to people, which could indicate FE. But if FI values something, then it will want to do that. For example, wanting to become a nurse. It's because she feels in her heart that that's what she wants to do. There wasn't any external influence prompting her to do that. There wasn't anything from the outside that would influence that. It was her own moral compass telling her, I need to do something. I want to be useful. I want to give to people in some way. NE, she has quite idealistic views. She's future oriented. For example, maybe when she's helping Gwen, just that FI and NE working together, you know, helping her find a job, being very persistent, and also looking for different possibilities. Okay, so for Branson, I typed him as ENTP. He's very much future-oriented. He has these progressive, radical views. He's ambitious. He is passionate. And just, yeah, forward-thinking. What can happen? What can the world become? What are the possibilities? Why keep the old system when it's not working? NETI, what can we do to change it? Working on improving the future for the greater good of everyone. So FE related. I was thinking that he might be FI at first because he can be pretty passionate about his beliefs and everything, but this isn't necessarily an FI trait. Especially, I think EPs can be very passionate and very, you know, driven, whether they're thinkers or feelers. So yeah, he has these progressive views about managing the estate, making it more self-sufficient, making it more contemporary, more modern. I was also thinking about, could that sort of his rebellion against social standards and norms be FI? But I think this can be, again, TIFE sort of conflict because, you know, not wanting to dress up for dinner according to some standards. He doesn't see the point. It's not so much that he's trying to defy it because of his ideals, but it's more because he finds it pointless and doesn't see the reasons behind it. But I think he's an interesting character because a lot of his character motivations, I feel like, are stemming from his class. He comes from a working class and then also from a different culture, and he has a different point of view on everything. So it's very normal that it's not surprising that he should think the way he does. Okay, now Edith. I typed Edith as ISFJ, even though I wasn't completely sure about her either. I was also considering ISFP, ESFJ, but yeah, I think there's more FE in her, especially that sort of SI-FE. Her goal in life is basically this classic domestic life. She wants a husband, a family. She wants to be a good wife, a good mother. Her goal is basically some kind of stability, even though this might just be because of how she was brought up. But yeah, she liked taking care of soldiers during the time when Downton was a convalescent home, being helpful, being giving to people in what I see as in sort of FE way. But I think it's interesting that when her, you know, initial idea, when being a wife, finding a husband, when all this sort of plan that she had fails, she goes out and seeks different possibilities, which I see sort of as an NE, but a pretty good use of NE. So she just tries to find different ways to occupy herself. For example, career opportunities like journalism, and not just waiting for a man, but becoming self-reliant, being her own person. So yeah, that's Edith.